Well, hello, Riverview. Pastor James here. We're going to take a look again at some additional thoughts from 1 Peter. I've been struck at the last kind of chapter how often Peter has exhorted his readers to lead with their conduct. I count at least 4 separate verses here in 1 Peter 2:12. Conduct yourselves honorably among the Gentiles, among unbelievers, so that when they slander you as evildoers, they will observe your good works and will glorify God on the day he visits. Verse 15, for it is God's will that you silence the ignorance of foolish people by doing good. 1 Peter 3:1, in the same way, wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands, so that even if some of them disobey the word, they may be won over without a word by the way their wives live when they observe your pure, reverent lives. And then husbands, in the same way, live with your wives in an understanding way, showing them honor. It's just this example of our conduct. Conduct is just the way we behave. And it strikes me that here's Peter writing to strangers, exiles in the first century, people that are hiding, that are afraid, that are struggling, that are experiencing persecution, that are suffering, all those kinds of things. And there's such a temptation when you're in that situation to use a lot of words, to lash out, to bandy back and forth, dialogue, conversation. We're seeing that a lot in our culture these days, aren't we? There's just so much being said and written, and it's back and forth, and it's on social media, and some of it is quite frankly not very helpful. Some of it's not super kind, not very gracious. Now, I want to be clear, words do matter and are appropriate oftentimes. Jesus used a lot of words. In fact, here in 1 Peter, as we move forward, the next chapter, it's going to say, in your hearts regard Christ as holy, ready at any time to give a defense to anyone who asks for the hope that's in you. Use words to do that. There's an appropriate time and place for us to use words, and as it says in Ecclesiastes, there is a time to speak and a time to be silent. And sometimes I think we are maybe using more words than are needed. In Proverbs chapter 18, I've been studying this section in Proverbs. I've been thinking a lot about just the way words are being used these days. In verse 6 of Proverbs 18, it says, a fool's lips lead to strife, and his mouth provokes a beating. A fool's mouth is his devastation, and his lips are a trap for his life. A gossip's words are like choice food that goes down to one's innermost being. And that's not a good thing. When a gossip speaks, it just sinks to the deepest level. It hurts people in a very, very deep way. And then in verse 13, the one who gives an answer before he listens, this is foolishness and disgrace for him. That word fool is associated in some cases with people who are careless with their words, who don't listen before they speak. And in Ephesians chapter 4, it says, let no unwholesome word come out of your mouth, but only those that give benefit in the moment and give grace to those who hear. And here it says that the one who speaks before listening, that's a disgrace. And so I want to challenge us this week to really work on our use of our words. Let's listen. Let's think. Let's consider what we say before we say it. Let's turn on our kindness filters in the way we, before the words leave our lips, let's make sure they're going to be beneficial, that they're going to give grace to the person who's listening. Now, Jesus is, of course, our example in all of this. In fact, here in 1 Peter, if you've been following along, we already talked about that. Jesus, it says, left us an example that we should follow in his steps. And here's the example. He did not commit sin, and no deceit was found in his mouth. He didn't speak anything that was untrue. When he was insulted, he did not insult in return. When he suffered, he did not threaten, but instead, he entrusted himself to the one who judges justly. And isn't that so powerful that I think sometimes we just keep saying things to try to justify ourselves, right? And Jesus, he didn't do that. He entrusted himself to God, the one who judges justly. So let's follow the example of Jesus this week in the way we conduct ourselves, in the way we measure our words, so that we can example Jesus to others in the way we conduct ourselves and in the way we measure our words.